The crown has always come with secrets, but this one left Prince William speechless. A quiet family meeting, a message from a dying king, and a revelation so unexpected, it cracked the royal heir's composed image in an instant. Princess Anne's voice carried not just words, but a legacy. And at the heart of it, Princess Catherine, not just a duchess, not just a wife, but possibly the soul of the next monarchy. What did King Charles really say in his final wish? And how did it change everything for William and the future of the crown? Let's uncover the truth together. William's composed public face. Prince William has always come across as steady and composed. Whether he's walking behind his grandmother's coffin or addressing the nation, people see a man who holds it together. As the heir to the throne, William knows the world is watching. He's been trained for this moment his whole life. Duty first, emotion later, he once told a close friend. But sometimes, duty and emotion clash in ways no one sees coming. In recent months, his polished appearance has remained the same. Smiling at engagements, speaking with grace, supporting his wife Catherine. But behind the scenes, insiders say William has been struggling. As one palace source put it, he's carrying more than people realize. With his father, King Charles, battling cancer, and the royal family's future looking uncertain, the pressure on William has quietly grown. His calm exterior has become more of a shield than a reflection. Friends of William say he doesn't talk much about his emotions, but they can tell something's changed. One longtime aide shared, "He's not sleeping well. He's quieter. There's a weight on him." That weight is made heavier by the fact that he may have to step into his father's shoes much sooner than expected. For a man who believed he had years to prepare, that reality is jarring. Still, William has continued to show up. In every photo op, every school visit, every handshake, he holds the line. But all of that changed when Princess Anne revealed something that hit him where it hurt most. The moment cracked the wall he had carefully built around his emotions, and for the first time in a long while, the future king looked like a man in mourning. But what exactly did Princess Anne say that shook William to his core? The answer lies not just in her words, but in the weight behind them, and in the man whose voice they carried. King Charles's long shadow and sudden decline. King Charles waited longer than any other royal in British history to become monarch. For over 70 years, he stood in the wings, preparing, learning, and watching. But when Queen Elizabeth passed in 2022 and the crown was finally his, it wasn't the celebration some imagined. Instead, it came with sorrow, and very quickly, serious health concerns. The new king stepped into a divided palace. Family tensions were high, and public trust was shaky. Charles wanted change, a modern monarchy smaller and more efficient, but not everyone agreed. He thought cutting costs would bring him respect, one royal biographer said, but it made him seem cold to many. Still, Charles pushed ahead, trying to be both king and reformer. Then came the diagnosis that changed everything. In early 2023, Charles was quietly told he had cancer. The palace kept the details private, but insiders noticed the changes. He looked thinner, more tired, said one courtier. Public appearances became shorter, his speeches less commanding. Behind the scenes, Charles began stepping back from the spotlight. The illness also sparked a personal reckoning. He realized he might not finish what he started, said a source close to the family. That realization haunted him. He began having more one-on-one talks with his sister, Princess Anne, trusting her in ways he hadn't before. And slowly, he started sharing thoughts he hadn't dared voice, about his legacy and his hopes for what would come after. And it was in one of those private moments between brother and sister that the king's most heartfelt wish was born. A wish Anne would carry straight to William, with consequences no one saw coming. The silent pillar of the crown. In a family full of headlines and scandals, Princess Anne has always been the quiet force. She doesn't seek attention, and yet she earns respect in every room she enters. From early on, she chose duty over drama. "I just get on with it," she's often said, and she has. Year after year, Anne has done more royal engagements than any other family member. No fuss, just commitment. When King Charles began to fade from public view, it wasn't William or Camilla who picked up the slack. It was Anne. She stepped into roles without hesitation, whether opening hospitals, attending summits, or standing in for her brother. Anne brought quiet confidence. Her presence reminded people of Queen Elizabeth, calm, composed, reliable. Charles noticed too. As his world grew smaller due to illness, Anne became his closest advisor. "He trusts her more than anyone," said a former royal aide. They shared childhood memories, but more importantly, they shared a belief that the monarchy should serve, not shine. It was Anne who sat with Charles in private, discussing the future, the burdens of leadership, and the people who could carry it forward. And that's how she came to hold the king's final wish. It wasn't about titles or tradition, it was about trust. And when Anne finally spoke those words aloud to Prince William, the room shifted. The impact was immediate. And the story, the one the palace had kept hidden, was finally out. So what exactly was in that message? What was it that left William shaken and changed the path of the monarchy forever? Let's find out. Princess Anne steps. And as King Charles's health grew worse, a quiet yet powerful force emerged from the shadows. Princess Anne. Unlike others in the royal family, Anne didn't chase headlines or demand attention. She simply showed up day after day, taking on more responsibilities without making a fuss. "She's the hardest working royal we have," one insider shared, and when the king began pulling back, Anne was the one filling in the gaps, attending ceremonies, speaking on his behalf, and keeping royal traditions alive. Anne's dedication wasn't something new. It had been building for decades. Known for her no-nonsense attitude, she has always been the rock within the family. From equestrian events to charity galas, Anne kept the monarchy visible during uncertain times. "I do my duty," she once said, and now that sense of duty carried more weight than ever. When Charles could no longer speak for himself, he turned to the one person he trusted completely, his sister. Behind the palace walls, Anne's importance grew even more. She wasn't just filling in, she was quietly becoming a trusted voice in royal planning. During private family discussions, Anne was known to keep emotions steady and focus on the future. It's said that Charles confided in her his deepest fears and his most heartfelt hopes for the monarchy after he was gone. And Anne, with quiet dignity, carried those messages forward without complaint. But it was one specific message that shook everything. At a private family meeting at Sandringham, Anne revealed King Charles's final wish. Not for power, not for legacy, but for stability. For Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to play a leading role next to William. "He saw something strong in her," Anne said. Her words were calm, but their impact was massive. And as she spoke, everyone realized this was more than just a conversation. It was history being made. Anne's revelation sparked emotions, but it also left questions hanging in the air. What exactly was this wish? And why did it hit Prince William so hard? Let's move into the next chapter and unpack the moment that left even the future king in tears. The king's dying wish. It happened during a cold afternoon at Sandringham. The family had gathered, William, Catherine, Camilla, and a few senior royals. But King Charles was missing. Too ill to attend, he had passed along a personal message through Princess Anne. As Anne stood in his place, she delivered a message that was never meant to be dramatic. But it shook the room. "The king believes in Catherine," Anne said. Simple words, deep meaning. According to those who were there, the room went silent. William looked down. Camilla stared straight ahead. And Catherine, always calm, blinked back emotion. It wasn't just a compliment, one insider revealed. It was a declaration. Charles wasn't simply naming his son as the future monarch. He was making it clear that he saw Catherine as essential, strong enough to carry part of the crown's burden when William needed her most. The message wasn't just about admiration. It was about structure. Charles had spent years reshaping the royal family. Fewer members, more impact. And in his final months, he realized the future needed more than just a king. It needed balance. He saw Catherine as a bridge, Anne said. A bridge between tradition and the people. Someone who didn't just wear a title, but lived its meaning with grace and responsibility. For Prince William, hearing this from his aunt hit differently. He knew how much his father valued control, legacy, and loyalty. And for Charles to hand that torch, not only to him, but also to his wife, was both an honor and a challenge. He always leaned on Catherine in private, a source said. Now, it was public. Now, it was official. As the conversation ended, no one clapped. No one cheered. But something shifted. Catherine, long seen as graceful and reserved, had just been placed at the very heart of the monarchy's future. The king's dying wish had been heard, and it would change everything. So how did Catherine rise to this position of influence? It didn't happen overnight. The journey from middle-class beginnings to the heart of royal power took time and incredible strength. Let's go back to where it all began. Catherine's journey. Before she ever became the Princess of Wales, Catherine Middleton was just a girl from Berkshire. Born into a loving family with hard-working parents, her childhood was filled with school runs, birthday parties, and quiet traditions. She had a normal life, said a former classmate. But even then, something stood out. Catherine wasn't chasing attention. She was calm, focused, and quietly confident. That character would later become her greatest strength. She met Prince William at university. St. Andrews was where their story started, but it wasn't fairy tale romance from the start. They were friends first. They shared jokes, study notes, and eventually, deeper connections. She kept him grounded, said a friend, and that's what made her different. Catherine didn't want the spotlight. She wanted William to succeed, and quietly supported him through every royal storm. Even before they married, Catherine proved she could handle the pressure. The media hounded her. Paparazzi camped outside her home, but she never cracked. She has the heart of a lion, one royal insider said. And when William finally proposed, offering his mother's ring, Catherine stepped into history not with fanfare, but with grace. Their 2011 wedding was watched by millions, but she still remained the same calm soul who had once walked through village streets unnoticed. Since becoming part of the royal family, Catherine has worked tirelessly. Early childhood education, mental health, and family support have all been her causes. She visits hospitals, meets families, and quietly makes change happen. She doesn't chase headlines, but earns respect. She leads by example, Princess Anne once said, and that's exactly why King Charles trusted her, not just to support William, but to stand beside him. Catherine's rise wasn't just about love, it was about action. But how does William feel now that his wife's role is growing larger than ever? Let's turn the page and look at the emotional impact of the king's final words on the heir himself. Princess Catherine. For years, royal fans admired Princess Catherine for her calm grace. But now, more than ever, some are asking a bold question. Could she be the true heir in spirit? While William carries the title, it's Catherine who often carries the emotional weight of the monarchy. In public, her presence is magnetic. In private, she's reportedly the glue that holds the family together. She's the one who keeps everything grounded, a royal aide once said, hinting at Catherine's quiet strength. Over time, Catherine's public appearances have shown a leader in the making. From visiting children's hospitals to addressing mental health, her voice isn't just supportive, it's powerful. When she speaks, people listen, not because she demands attention, but because her words feel honest. Even Queen Elizabeth was said to be impressed by Catherine's ability to stay composed in pressure-filled moments. "She reminds me of myself," the late monarch reportedly shared. Palace insiders say Catherine is often consulted behind closed doors. She's not just a wife, she's a strategic partner. Whether it's planning public engagements or advising on causes, she's deeply involved. Her bond with Princess Anne has also grown, especially since Anne delivered the king's emotional message. According to one source, Anne sees Catherine as someone who truly gets it: the duty, the discipline, the devotion. This growing influence has sparked debates inside royal circles. With King Charles fading from the spotlight and William focused on succession, some wonder if Catherine's voice could reshape the future monarchy. Could she become more than just a queen consort? Could she lead in a way that reflects both tradition and progress? These are questions echoing through the palace walls. As whispers of Catherine's rising influence spread, one major piece still looms: King Charles's unspoken plan. What legacy did he hope to leave? And what unexpected move shook William to the core? Let's uncover the king's quiet, final wish. The king's quiet, final wish. At a quiet gathering in Sandringham in early 2025, something extraordinary happened. Princess Anne, always the steady figure in the royal family, stood before her family and revealed a message that King Charles had entrusted to her. It wasn't a flashy announcement or a formal proclamation. It was the king's final wish, and it hit Prince William like a thunderbolt. The message, shared with few outside the room, was simple but powerful. King Charles wanted the monarchy to survive not by holding on to tradition, but by trusting the people who showed real dedication. He expressed his deepest belief that Catherine, not just William, was key to the future. "The crown needs heart as much as it needs duty," Anne quoted the king, her voice steady yet emotional. Those in the room reportedly fell silent. William, according to insiders, was visibly shaken, not because he was being pushed aside, but because he felt the weight of his father's trust in Catherine. He always knew she was special, a source shared. But hearing his father say it out loud, in such a serious way, it hit him differently. Anne's speech touched on Catherine's loyalty, her strength during crises, and her connection with the public. She also revealed something else. The Queen had also confided in Charles, saying Catherine was the one to carry the torch of the new monarchy. It wasn't a handover of power, but a handing over of trust. And in the monarchy, trust means everything. So how did William respond? What was his reaction to this emotional revelation? And how does this change the royal dynamic going forward? Let's move on to the next point, to explore how William took the news and the emotional toll it left behind. Prince William's emotional reaction. For most of his life, Prince William has maintained a calm, composed image. He's the future king, the father of three, the royal who rarely lets emotions show. But after hearing Princess Anne speak his father's final words, something changed. Behind palace doors, William wasn't the composed royal heir. He was a son, stunned and overwhelmed. Sources close to the family say William stepped away from the room for several minutes. When he returned, his eyes were red. It was clear he had been crying, one insider revealed. That was a side of William we rarely see. It wasn't just the shock of the message, it was the realization that the monarchy, as he envisioned it, might be shifting around him. William had long seen Catherine as his partner, but in this moment, he realized others saw her as a leader in her own right, perhaps even more ready than he was. That's not an easy truth for any heir to process. The weight of expectations, legacy, and personal emotions all collided in that moment. "He supports her deeply," a royal friend noted, but that kind of recognition changes things. What followed was a period of quiet reflection for William. He cancelled 2 public appearances and spent time at home with Catherine and the children. Insiders say the couple had long talks about the king's message. He didn't feel threatened, the source explained, but he did feel unprepared, like he hadn't seen how far Catherine had come. As William regains his footing and the royal family processes this emotional shift, the question remains, what does this mean for the monarchy's structure moving forward? And could Princess Catherine's rising power bring both hope and tension? Stay with us. We're just getting started. A turning point in the monarchy. After the emotional Sandringham meeting, William's calm exterior slowly began to show signs of strain. For a man raised in the shadow of the throne, being reminded that the spotlight may not shine only on him was no easy truth. Palace aides noticed the subtle shifts: more time alone, increased meetings with senior advisors, and fewer spontaneous public appearances. "He's carrying more than a title. He's carrying doubt," said one longtime royal staffer. William's thoughts reportedly swirled around his role, his readiness, and his identity within the modern monarchy. He wasn't resentful, far from it. Insiders describe a prince trying to process what leadership really means. The challenge was no longer about being the face of the monarchy, but about working alongside a woman who had quietly earned the people's trust. "It's like the crown has 2 pillars now," said one observer, and William's learning to share the weight. These quiet moments of reflection shaped his next steps. William began requesting briefings on causes Catherine had championed. He held private meetings with his father's closest advisors to understand the king's vision. One notable change? William publicly praised Catherine's work during a royal appearance, calling her a remarkable force for good. It wasn't a throwaway line, it was a nod to a new era of partnership. The real turning point came when William initiated a joint project with Catherine focused on early childhood development, a space she had long led. "She leads this, and I'm here to support," he said in a candid interview. That small sentence echoed loudly. It signaled not just support, but a shift in mindset. The future king was embracing collaboration, even if it meant stepping back in some moments. As William reshaped his role, another surprising element came into view: the public's response. How did the nation react to this unfolding royal story? And did the people agree with the king's quiet wish? Let's take a closer look. The public's reaction. The news of King Charles's final wish, quietly revealed through Princess Anne, sparked a storm of conversation across the UK. Social media buzzed, royal commentators weighed in, and everyday citizens began asking the same question: was the monarchy headed for a quiet revolution? "I never thought I'd say this," one user tweeted, "but Catherine might be the strongest leader we've got." Polls taken in the weeks after the Sandringham revelation showed a clear shift. While William remained popular, Catherine's favorability skyrocketed. Many admired her composure, her hard work, and her authenticity. "She's real," said one woman interviewed outside Buckingham Palace. "You believe what she says, and that matters now more than ever." This growing affection for Catherine did not breed resentment toward William. Instead, it highlighted a public ready for a dual leadership model, one that reflected both strength and heart. Experts noted that the public was reacting to values, not just titles. In a time when trust in institutions is low, said royal analyst Fiona Park, Catherine represents reliability. Media coverage also played a role. Major headlines celebrated her rise. "The People's Princess, reimagined," read one. Others pointed to a more modern monarchy on the horizon, shaped by mutual respect and shared responsibilities between William and Catherine. Even late-night talk shows picked up on the dynamic, often praising Catherine's calm yet commanding presence. But what about within the palace walls? As the world watched this royal evolution unfold, how did other senior royals respond? Was everyone on board, or were quiet tensions brewing behind closed doors? Let's reveal what happened next. Palace reaction. Behind the velvet curtains of the palace, reactions to King Charles's quiet wish varied. While the public celebrated Catherine's rise, not all royals were as enthusiastic. Some welcomed the shift. Others, reportedly, felt uneasy. "There's always resistance when tradition meets change," said a royal historian. And this change, though subtle, was seismic. Princess Anne naturally remained a steadfast supporter. She had seen Catherine's dedication up close. Queen Camilla, too, was said to have warmed to the idea, praising Catherine's grace under pressure. "She reminds me of the Queen Mother, soft on the outside, steel on the inside," Camilla allegedly told a confidant. However, not everyone was ready to embrace the shift. Some extended family members worried about a power imbalance. Would Catherine's growing influence overshadow other senior royals? Would William's quieter role cause confusion about leadership? They respect Catherine, a palace insider shared, but they're also worried about what this means for the chain of command. Despite these concerns, palace aides have worked to present a united front. Public appearances were coordinated to show harmony. William and Catherine were scheduled together more often. Even joint events with Queen Camilla and Princess Anne were arranged to emphasize unity. "The palace knows the optics matter," a press officer admitted, "and the last thing they want is public speculation about a split." With the palace adjusting and the people watching closely, one final question remains. Where does this leave Prince William? As his father fades from power and his wife rises beside him, can he step into his destiny with renewed confidence? Let's find out in our final section. The future of the monarchy. Prince William's path forward isn't about reclaiming the spotlight. It's about sharing it. In the weeks after the Sandringham revelation, his actions began to speak louder than his title. He started redefining what it means to be a king, not a solitary ruler, but a partner, a father, and a leader willing to grow. "Leadership today isn't about command," William said in a recent address. "It's about connection." This new approach has already started shaping the royal institution. Joint initiatives with Catherine now form the backbone of their public work. They appear more often as a team, sharing speeches, hosting roundtables, and supporting each other's causes. It's no longer about succession. It's about cooperation. King Charles's quiet wish seems to have planted a seed that's already taking root. Royal watchers note that William seems more relaxed now, even more engaged. "He's found his rhythm," said a source close to the couple, "and it's because he stopped trying to do it all alone." Catherine, for her part, continues to shine, not by overshadowing her husband, but by walking beside him. The monarchy isn't becoming less traditional. It's evolving. In a world craving authenticity and shared purpose, William and Catherine's united front might be exactly what the crown needs. "They're stronger together," one aide said simply, "and in that strength, the future of the monarchy may finally be secure." And there you have it, the emotional unraveling, the quiet revelations, and the subtle power shift that may reshape the royal future. But what do you think? Could this be the beginning of a shared monarchy? Or is the crown destined to rest on just one head? Leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more royal revelations. As the palace shifts and the king's final words echo through royal halls, one question remains: will Princess Catherine reshape the monarchy from within? The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: change is coming. Subscribe for more stories unfolding behind royal walls. The next chapter may be closer than you think.